Ever wonder why your friend, your sister, your brother can eat anything they want and not have any digestive challenges at all with that? Or you know, a friend that's just so good at getting out and exercising all the time. They're so have that down to a routine, and you find it hard to get off the couch, or you find it hard to just be consistent with anything. All of this is not, you know, it's not your fault. It's all because of your dosha. So welcome to Simple Ayurveda 101. What is my dosha? And your dosha actually determines your body, your mind, and your emotions and how they work or not work in some cases, right? So why it's easy for some people to do things and why it's so hard for others to get on that same track. So it's not you, it's your dosha. I'm Krista with Flourish Yoga, your wellness lifestyle coach using Ayurveda and Essential Oils. And this is the third video in the Simple Ayurveda 101 series entitled What is Your Dosha? Or for that matter, what is a dosha? We're going to dive into all of that. So if you're intrigued about Ayurveda, make sure to click on the subscribe button below so that you can be notified each time a new video in this series is released. And after watching this, you may want to take the dosha test or the dosha quiz. And that is the Ayurvedic body type quiz that kind of explains so much about you. So the link for that is in the description and in the comments below. So go ahead and check that out. And after you take that quiz, you have the option of whether you want to get some more information particular to your dosha and how you can use that to feel balanced in your life. And at the end, I'm actually going to share how you can get my Ayurvedic Lifestyle course for free. So stay tuned for that. This is where you get to work one-on-one with me and in a group and learn all things dosha related. All right, so let's dive into this thing called the dosha, right? And what is it? And so before we do that, actually, we're going to go back a couple of steps and talk about something called the elements. Okay, and the elements in Ayurveda, there's 5 of them, and they determine so that your dosha is a combination of your elements. So we all have everything within our body. We have all 5 elements, which are air, ether, fire, water, and earth element is the other one. So we have everything, right? We're all made up of everything, but it's just what do we have more of? How is our body kind of joined together, and which ones are more prevalent for us than others? Okay, and so the air element influences how mobile you are, right? It's kind of like the wind, right? So picture people that are constantly in motion, who run everywhere instead of walk or stroll, right? You have a friend maybe that had lots of projects on the go and is always starting new things and always like lots of action going on. That comes from that air. So it's great for creativity, not so great for getting anything done, right? The fire element determines how intense or how fiery your emotions are. Okay, how red your complexion is, how quick-tempered you are. So think those like, you know, hot-tempered redheads. Think type A business people, right? Lots of fire and determination going in there. So not a bad element for success, but also leads to a lot of heartache physically and emotionally. All right, the earth element makes us grounded and secure. Okay, it may mean that your frame is more dense and stable, and it may cause you to feel stuck in a rut sometimes, right? So it also means you're trustworthy and unshakable. The ether or the space element is more difficult to describe. It's kind of that almost a spiritual element. It's kind of the space or that pause between thoughts or ideas. It's the space between the joints in your body. It's the space that allows the other elements to thrive. So we need it, but it is just kind of this other ethereal kind of an element that kind of comes into play. All right, so if we look at this, when we combine these elements, so a Vata dosha is a combination of air and ether. So not a lot to them, right? It's air and this ether, this otherworldly thing. Pitta is a combination of the fire and the water, right? So we have that fluidity of the water and that intensity of the fire. And then a Kapha is a combination of the earth element and water element. So earth and water together is really sticky. It's really gooey. It's cohesive. So it's kind of bringing everything together in line in that. And it's also that earth element is what helps us to manifest and get things done. So it's stability. It's rock solid. All right, so let's look at each of these in more detail, right? So looking at Vata. So Vata people are made of this air and ether. They have more, sometimes they have more Vata in each of their cells. They have more of this kind of space element in there. So they thrive on movement and light. They thrive on change. They resist routine. So consistency is really hard for a Vata. So I want you to think this tall, like hipster couple, kind of always on the go. Think really light frame, and that we're going to go into each of the characteristics on that in a moment. But really that's creative artsy types, like a yoga teacher, right? Falls into that category. All right, so physically, a Vata has a thin build. They have small bones and joints. They can be tall or short, kind of either one. There's variable, is another word for Vata. They can have really dry or rough skin and cold hands, and light sleeper is another characteristic of that. There's a few more, but those are kind of like the big ones going through there. Emotionally, they are creative. They are alert. So they kind of notice things going on. They're very adaptable. They can kind of go with the flow pretty easily. They're always in that motion. They can be very spiritually focused and intuitive in nature and spontaneous. It's just like drop of a hat. Let's go. Let's pack up and go. When they're out of balance, okay, then the Vatas can be prone to arthritis, so things in the joints, addictions, chronic fatigue, constipation, so just, everything's like not very mobile in that, so they're out of balance in that way. Headaches, gas and bloating, so too much air going on basically. Food allergies, insomnia, muscle stiffness, low back pain is another sign of a Vata imbalance, low energy and restlessness. Okay, so that's the Vata. So maybe there's a few things in there that clued into you or someone that you know. Okay, so the next one we're going to dive into is Pittas. Okay, so the Pittas is more like average or medium build, but also think of it as an athletic build to them. Okay, so they're strong, determined, they're purposeful, and they just, can make decisions really quickly going through there. And then we have that fire element that's going to add to some reddish complexion. So let's look at this in more detail. So physically, they're athletic, they have that average build and weight. They have closely spaced eyes. This is a giveaway for Pittas. They have very penetrating, their eyes look like they can just see right through you type thing. They see everything. They can have a reddish complexion or red hair, can be a giveaway on that or an element of that. They can also have oily skin. So this nature of fire element is kind of a viscous or oily kind of nature to it. So they can be prone to that a little bit. Emotionally, Pittas are quick-minded. They are, really intense, decisive coming into play. They're leaders. They're ambitious. They're very organized in what they do. But when they go out of balance, so too much fire element in there, they can be prone to anger. They can be prone to physical things like canker sores, heartburn, hemorrhoids is a Pitta thing, hot flashes, hyperactivity can be going into that, inflammatory disorders, irritation, jealousy. So again, from the heart, right? So too much of that, skin, acne, and rashes kind of coming out comes there, ulcers, that's kind of on the inside of that coming into play. All right, next up, we have Kapha. So Kapha is when we have earth and water coming together. Okay, so that's cohesive, it's gooey, it's lovely, it's just kind of everybody gets drawn into the Kaphas. It might be hard to get off the couch a little bit, but they also have this quality, everybody just wants to be around them. Okay, so let's dive into that a little bit more. Physically, Kaphas have a strong build. Okay, so they have a thicker bone structure to them. You can kind of almost tell what your dosha is by simply looking at your wrists. So thin wrists tend to be more that Vata, kind of average would be your Pitta, and then the thicker bone structure on the joints would be a Kapha. And then they have average height and weight, so there's not, they're not too erratic on that one, but they have really large, other giveaways, these large, big, kind of calming eyes. They have beautiful complexion and luscious hair coming through. And they are, in terms of sleep, they're really sound sleepers, almost hard to get up in the morning, right? So they can sleep too much would be on the Kapha side of that. Emotionally, they're very loving, accepting, patient. They're just wonderful to be around, right? That's that person that you're gonna pour out your heart to, is the Kapha personality. They're nurturing, they're loyal. In terms of memory, Kaphas have a really good long-term memory. They, once it gets in there, it sticks in there forever. Whereas uh, the Vatas might, learn things really quickly, but then they'll forget it, right? And then Pittas tend to have pretty good memory on both sides of that. And then out of balance, Kaphas are prone to allergies, so kind of anything in the congestion of the lungs kind of area. So allergies and asthma come into that. Emotionally out of balance can be things like attachment and greed, so holding on too tightly to things. Other dis-ease or ailments that kind of come into play are diabetes, depression, again, just feeling that lowness, like hard to get moving and motivated. Eating disorders come into place, just this lethargy. A thyroid imbalance can be due to a Kapha imbalance, and then just retaining too much water coming in. So it's just excess of that water, excess of stuff kind of within the body, phlegm within the body. All right, so hopefully you saw something of yourself in one of those. Maybe there's a couple, and that is a thing. So you can have, you have one that tends to be your primary, then you have your secondary, then you have one that you don't have a lot of, typically, right? Some people have like neck and neck of two, so they're like dual doshic. And occasionally you find people that have an equal balance of all three. It's like, well, I have a little bit of this and this and this. It's rare, but you do have those people that are really balanced, that are tri-doshic, we call it, or have a little bit of everything in them, which is not a bad thing. There's no bad thing in any of them. It's just makes it a little bit harder to pinpoint what's going out of balance. So you have to kind of know yourself and be really attuned into that awareness even more if you're on the tri-doshic end of the scale. If you're like off the scale on one or the other, you just kind of know what's going to throw you out of balance all the time. And we'll talk in the future in videos about those imbalances and what to do for each of the doshas. We'll have that coming up, don't you worry. Make sure you click on the subscribe to get that. And also, this has piqued your interest, make sure you take that dosha quiz. So I've got some ideas and tips that kind of follow up with that as well, to kind of keep you into balance in terms of what kind of exercise you should do. Because what is this dosha? What does it affect? It affects your emotional state. It affects what foods you can eat and in what season, what's you can throw out of balance, what foods you should eat for this season, what type of exercise, where your disease shows up in your body. So you'll have a tendency to have different flare-ups within your body, and that relates to your dosha. It all kind of ties in there. It even relates to when you get up in the morning, right? Or how you sleep at night. So it's kind of all ties everything in. And once you know your dosha, it's just this key to figuring everything out. It's like, oh, of course it's like that because I'm a Pitta, right? Or because I'm a Vata or a Kapha. It all just totally kind of comes into place. For me, it was just like game changer. The light bulbs kind of went off. It's like, oh, so for me, being consistent is really, really hard. I've got a really high Vata. Vata and Pitta are like my top two. I don't have a lot of Kapha. I'm not very, juicy to be around, right? I'm that like decisive, thinker. I've got lots of projects on the go all the time. But because I'm always in movement, I'm not always the stable person you come to with that. And that's okay. That's just who I am, right? So once you understand that, you can just play with your strengths a little bit further. All right, I hope you've enjoyed this. It's been lots of fun to share this with you. If you did like it, make sure you like it, and so that I know what kind of videos to make more of as well. And also, can you post below what is your dosha? And what aha did you have coming out of this with our dosha series? And then I promised to tell you how you can get my full Ayurvedic dosha, this course that I teach. I teach it 3 times a year, and you can get access to that through a few products that I use to balance my dosha. So for me, Ayurveda was one half of my equation of getting my health online and feeling vibrant and alive. The other half of that equation is actually essential oils, Ayurvedic oils, and some supplements that really help my baseline, give me the building blocks for healing. So I have some options of that, are a little kit that I like to start, and actually we use it in the course. So if you purchase the kit, you can actually get the course for free. So I have a class that I run every week called Oils for Health, and if you come to that, I can talk more about what's going on for you and your dosha, and I'll tell you more about how to get that course for free. And there's also a link down in the description all about that. So feel free to check that out. And also, if you haven't already, make sure you check out the other videos in this Ayurveda 101 series. We talk about what is Ayurveda, what's an Ayurvedic lifestyle, and then dosha was our number 3 coming into this one. And then if you're new to essential oils, these are really, really great ways to balance that dosha out. So you can check out those Ayurvedic oils playlist as well. So it's all about how can we make a wellness lifestyle simple, easy, and effective for you. All right, namaste.